Hi, and welcome to this week's Mortgage Broker broadcast. My guest this week is Joanne Cole, who is the founder of BrokeriQ. And I wanted to get Joanne to the podcast because I talked to Joanne some time ago, earlier on in the year. I had a bit of a demo with BrokeriQ, saw the benefits of it and understand it. And I wanted to get Joanne onto the podcast really to explain a little bit more about what is BrokeriQ. There's a lot of development going on with BrokeriQ at the moment. There's a lot of changes now, which we won't talk about on the podcast, in conversation with various networks. So you might find that if you are part of a network, they're starting to talk to you about BrokeriQ. She's also got the integration with iPipeline coming up as well. So there's a lot of things that are going on. But the reason why I wanted to get onto the podcast to talk about it was it's very much around client retention. And as you know, from my own point of view, as a business owner, as a mortgage broker, growing my business, client retention is key to any growth. And I think the thing with BrokeriQ is it does help with that. And that's why I wanted to get on the podcast so she could explain what BrokeriQ is, how it helps with client retention, how it helps with automation, how it makes life easier for brokers, makes life easier for clients, and really getting the foundations of why BrokeriQ started. Is really it's not to look to replace anything. It's looking to enhance what brokers do. That's why I wanted to get Joanne onto the podcast. But before we get Joanne onto the podcast, here's Lee Rowland with this week's Mortgage Broker Bulletin.
Hello, and welcome to the second edition of the Mortgage Broker Bulletin. With inflation falling and the Bank of England base rate staying at 5.25, have we seen a peak in interest rates? Signs are promising, with several lenders reducing their rates and some even below 5% on high deposit products. Is there a glimmer of hope coming through those clouds? House prices continue to fall, but there may be a feeling across the market that they may have bottomed out as they're decreasing at a much slower rate than they were before. With the general public still coming to terms with the cost of living increase, it's no doubt that inquiries have dropped across the sector. Even the most organised of people can work out how much disposable income they're going to have each month. But that's where we come in, the mortgage brokers. So now is the time for us all as a sector to get together, get some good news stories out there, show who we are, where we are, so we can help these people the best we can. Have a great week. Onwards, forwards, upwards. Let's all stay positive. See you next week.
Thanks, Lee, for this week's Mortgage Broker Bulletin. So now let's just get Joanne onto the podcast. So welcome onto the podcast, Joanne. How are you?
I'm great, Craig. How are you? Thank you so much for having me this morning.
No, I'm great, and even more excited to get you onto the podcast finally. I think we've been sort of discussing a little bit before about when we first started having, because we're going to talk about yourself and obviously BrokeriQ today. You and I had a conversation about BrokeriQ earlier on in the year, and it just seems to be forever. I'm sure I asked you ages and ages ago, and you sort of like swerved the subject to that time about coming onto the podcast. So I'm pleased you've finally agreed to come onto the podcast, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and I'm not normally shy about coming on to these things. I probably, it just takes a while to get your confidence up and get on to speaking about what you're doing. But I think we're out in the market now long enough. People have probably heard a good bit at this stage.
Exactly. You've got plenty to talk about, and like you said, I'm sure we'll get into a lot of detail on the podcast and get to know you a lot more and get to know more about BrokeriQ and the offering. And as always, we'll sort of understand what it's about, what the benefits are for brokers that are using it, the networks that you're talking to, because now we've had a bit of a conversation around that. So, but first of all, do you want to do a brief introduction to explain who you are, Joanne?
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Well, my name is Joanne Cole and I am the founder of BrokeriQ. BrokeriQ is an app-based platform designed to transform the way mortgage and protection advisor firms engage, communicate and interact with their clients. So it was founded by myself. A bit of background on myself. I actually am a qualified teacher. Some people know that, some people don't know that. I fell into the mortgage and protection space. I came from data analysis and digital transformation within education. So that was always a bit of passion of mine. fell into the mortgage and protection space after a very good friend and my mortgage advisor asked me to do some work in his firm. I trained as an advisor, thoroughly enjoyed it, but always had a bit of a pull towards that technology, Craig. That, I suppose, for me, the lack of technology that sat between the advisors and their clients. So there's lots of great technology that sit between the advisors and the protection companies and the mortgage companies and CRMs that sit there and sourcing tools, but very little that actually continue that journey, I suppose, with the client. And that's where BrokeriQ came from.
No, absolutely. And as for people that listen to the podcast, brokers that listened to me before, I'm very keen in terms of post-completion contact strategies, if for want of a better phrase. And that's the phrase that I tend to use, because that's key. And I think that's the thing that a lot of brokers forget about and don't worry about. It's all about the new client, and it's looking at what happens once they have completed. And we're going to talk about consumer duty because that's very much working in your favor right now. And from a broker point of view, we're going to have a chat about that. But yeah, I think it's key. And one of the things, because I was looking at one of the well-known stats now is that only 50% of mortgage clients return to their original broker when their remortgage is due, which is just a frightening stat. Like, that is really, really just a shocking stat. Like, it is bad, isn't it? That is not good from a broker point of view, because we're all about the new client getting the new leads and getting the new leads in. But then half of those clients never speak to us again. So,
well, I think it is a lot. I mean, I don't think it's anything to do with the advisors. I think most of if any of the advisors that I work with on a daily basis have had really good retention rates. But I just think the systems aren't there. The systems aren't in place to really help digitize that. And that's exactly one of the things that we do, digitize that for the advisors to ensure that they're always in front of their client, that they're always continuing that communication and that engagement. And it doesn't have to be a salesy outreach or anything that's trying to push anything on the clients. It's just hey, we're here if you need anything. It's that regular communication, because in often cases, you do your mortgage and you might not see that client for 5 years, depending on when they've tied in. And, how do you keep that engagement going over that 5 years and keep yourself relevant? And social media does a really good job of that. But I think for me, it was about nearly creating your own platform to be in front of your clients at all times. And that's exactly what we have done. So yeah, it's a shocking statistic, I must admit. I didn't think it was just 50%. I thought it was slightly higher.
Yeah, it probably might be. I think that might be. Yeah, but I think that it said at least 50%. So it's around that kind of number. So do you want to? So obviously, I finally got you onto the podcast to talk about BrokeriQ and the benefits of that platform from a insurance point of view, from a protection advisor's point of view, but also from a mortgage broker's point of view. Do you want to just explain exactly what BrokeriQ is? And then I'm sure I'm going to have quite a few questions that I know you'll be ready to answer.
Well, I suppose we pride ourselves on providing advisors with that hyper-personalised communication, scalable communication. We do everything from the very start of the process, from the onboarding of the client, right through the mortgage collection of information. We have instant chat messaging through that. And then we move on to, I suppose, at the end of the process, we have the facility to upload all of your clients' mortgages and protection onto your client's app. So it's very important to note that the app that the clients get is fully branded to the broker. And that was very important for us, that they had their own brand on their app, because again, it's their business and that's the relationship that's been formed between the client and the advisor. And then a lot past the point of sale, whether that's just reaching out to wish them a happy birthday, and a lot of that's automated, but it's very personalized. We do recordings of advisors actually wishing their clients a happy birthday or happy Easter. We do all of that. It's very, very personalized. It goes out through the client's app. And then we even go as far now as being able to profile the information that's inside our platform to identify if a client maybe is self-employed and they don't have their income protection and they chose not to take it in the initial outreach for some reason or another. And maybe it's just a quick chat message out. And we have a few integrations that are supporting that as well at this moment in time. So yeah, we do everything from the very start of that meet with the client right through the sale process. We take no part in the actual mortgage application or the protection application. We just facilitate all of the communication that goes on throughout that, streamline those processes, and then we very much continue that relationship past the point of sale. So when that mortgage is through, when that protection is through, what happens now to that client, and that the lifetime value of that client, I suppose. How do we ensure that that client comes back and that you continue to build that relationship with your client once the mortgage is completed?
Okay, makes sense so far. So it is, from my understanding, from a broker point of view, branded app, there's very integrated with because every good mortgage broker will have a process already that they follow from the start, as soon as they get a lead into then following it on to completion. So at what point does then the app become part of the broker's process? Is it said right at the very, very first interaction with a lead with a client?
Well, I suppose, Craig, when I came from working in the industry, I mean, I work with a great guy who'd been in the industry for a very, very long time. And I mention him quite often on my LinkedIn profile. He's been one of my biggest advocates and supporters. But I mean, he always taught me about the process and the flow of that application, and about barriers. So for me, when we were building BrokeriQ, it was about eliminating any barriers to entry to begin with. So it had to be easy, it had to be simple to use, and we pride ourselves on our simplicity of the platform. And because the technology is actually very easy to use and very quick for advisors to get into, we put a lot of our time and energy into that customer success journey. You'll hear me talk about customer success and client engagement all of the time. That is a real passion of mine. And we will integrate as part of our customer success into the advisor's journey. So we'll start that journey with the advisor and their client, really from the very first touch point of that client. Maybe it's a reach out through LinkedIn and they've downloaded the app themselves, or reach out through Facebook or Instagram, they've downloaded the link themselves. We will help with that first outreach through the social media. Maybe it's a new client that's come in. Hi, it's Joanne from the mortgage broker's firm, and can you please download our app? This is how we're going to communicate with you. So we embed every element of the app into that journey, into that process. Maybe it's an existing client and you haven't spoken to them in a couple of years. You want to pick up the phone and say, look, we're moving on to this app. Can you please download the app? The client puts in their own details and that starts the journey right through. So really you're moving all of your communication onto your own branded app, and you're being able to streamline that. You have full transparency over any of the communications that's happening within that app. I know in most of the advisor firms that we would go into, there's email being used, there's WhatsApp being used, there's messaging tools being used, there's social media being used. And it's really hard, especially if you're the principal character, to sort of keep a track on all of that. You might have 8 members of staff, somebody's sending a message here, there's an email coming in there. We move all of that on to BrokeriQ. The client only has the one platform that they know they have to go to, and that's the broker's branded app. And in the background, we have a way of streamlining all of that, so there's full transparency as well. And then we just embed that process through every step of that client's journey. We work very closely with the advisors in our initial implementation to ensure that that's a really streamlined process.
Okay, no, that makes total sense. I think, like I say, process is key. But I was smiling there when you were sort of saying about, I know what it's like running a mortgage broker firm, and also my clients within the other things, aspects of business that I do. You always start thinking, did they message me on LinkedIn? Did they message me on WhatsApp? I'm looking through various trails of platforms, whether it's Messenger is one, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, email, text, and you sort of think, and then I'm trying to find messages going back, and I deal with one person, it would be on various platforms, and I'm thinking, I'm sure they said something about that. Let me just try and find it. And then I'm dealing with, you're searching different things, and I'm sure all the brokers that are listening some brokers will use 1 or 2 platforms, but the customer might, if you're then giving the customer options, they might choose to use WhatsApp today, but then they might text you, then they might use Messenger if you've got you on Facebook, and then they might email you. So again, like I say, it just goes back to sort of less friction from a mortgage broker point of view and less friction from a client point of view, that if they've just got one channel from the start, there's very clear, this is how I communicate with all my clients, and this is how it works. The thing is as well is that most people, I don't know what the stat would be, but most people have got smartphones. Most people will be okay interacting via apps because that's what they will use day in, day out in everyday life. So it just makes perfect sense to focus down and funnel everything down the app, because then, like I say, everything's in one place, less friction for the broker, less friction for the client.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, when we looked at building the technology and all of the functionality that it offered, it was only ever going to be app, because there are other technology. The networks have portals and there's different ways for clients to it's just the convenience of that, it's the getting into those sort of platforms. It's not instant, if you know what I mean. And it sort of ends at the communication ends at the end of the case. So you still have to log into that to see if there's been a message sent. And I mean, it's not always top list of clients' priorities to go in and check what's happening, maybe if they're desperately waiting their mortgage. But for me, it could only be app-based. And I have to say, we have very little pushback, if any at all, on the downloading of the app. I think it's an education piece. And I had that with an advisor yesterday who'd actually worked in the bank previously when apps first came out into the banks. And, it was an education piece. And now apps in the banks are just part and parcel. I mean, could not cope without my banking app on my phone. And I think your mortgage and your protection is just as important. You might not use it every day. You might not need to keep an eye on it every day, but it is something that you should be able to access easily. And again, it's that brand awareness for the advisor. It's their own branded app. It's on their phone. This is where their client's going to go. It's keeping that loyalty. It gives clarity to the end user as well. It was something that I always found when I was in the advisor firm, just even the amount of my friends, when I asked them about their mortgage and protection, hadn't a clue, just didn't have a clue. They knew they had a mortgage, they knew they paid monthly, thought maybe they had some insurance, but they had no real concept. And that was one of the reasons, again, why I went down the app route, because I wanted the end user to have that access to go to their advisor's app and say, oh, this is my mortgage, this is what I pay per month, this is the interest that it's on, this is when it's up for renewal, this is what my policy, this is what my actual schedule says, and the same for their protection. So I suppose I very much built the platform wearing two hats. It was to assist and for the advisor and to help them with their processes, but it also was very much for that client and that end user to be able to see clearly what they had and access it very, very easily on their own phone. All in the one place, because I know the mortgage companies and the insurance companies have their own apps, but you might have to go to one of them to get one policy document. You might have to go to another to get another policy document. You might have to, so it's still all over the place, still a wee bit widespread. And of course, I'm a big advocate for the advisor. So it was always about the advisor and keeping it very much with the advisor.
I think that's it. Like you said there, like we've talked, like actually a question about the start of the process. We've moved on to sort of like towards the end of the process. We've gone from a broker point of view when the mortgage is completed, we put protection in place. But I totally agree with you. Like when I look at the apps that I've got, I know where my mortgage is, and then I've got my app with the bank in terms of the lending is. And even though my mortgage is done through a broker, it's still on the app with the bank that comes through that. My protection, I've got a policy with Aviva, which is on one app. I've got a policy with Vitality that's on another app. My mortgage is with a lender. So if I'm wanting to look at what cover I've got in place and what my mortgage balance is due today, is literally scattered all over the place, but branded with the provider. Whereas from what you're sort of saying, if he's got that, which is perfect, and I'm such an advocate of this, is that if I'm a broker, whenever a client thinks about the mortgage, has any questions about the mortgage, has any thought about the protection, the one thing that I want to happen is that my face appears in their brain psychologically, and I need to speak to Craig. So whatever happens, a question about mortgage, when is my remortgage due, I'm out socializing with friends, and they're sort of I need to get my mortgage sorted out. Which broker was it that you used? It's sort of having all that in one place, going, yeah, do you know what? There they are. That's my balance for mortgage. That's what protection I've got in place as well. Mm-hmm. And also as well, from a clawback point of view, from a client sticking with the protection, one of the things is that clients don't necessarily, there's a lot going on when they take the mortgage out. There is a lot of things happening, a lot of things sort of going on when the mortgage gets taken out. And protection's talked about with the mortgage and protection advisor. But again, it's still, there's a lot of things for them to take. So once they've gone away, they've moved into the house, it's then when we've got £30 a month going out to Aviva, what is that for again? Oh yeah, it's there. It tells me exactly that's my income protection. That's what it does. So again, it just reaffirms everything what the broker's done in one particular place. And if they've got any questions, I'm guessing they can interact with their broker there and then.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it, Craig. And I am a big advocate for keeping clients with the advisors. I mean, the irony of the situation is, when you talked about Maya, then the Maya Aviva app, the ex CEO, COO of Aviva is my chairperson.
Right.
So I don't know if many people don't know that Hugh Hessing is my chairperson, and we talk a lot about that. And I mean, I'm a big advocate for, I have Aviva as some of my policies, and I have Guardian, and I have AIG, and I have a lot of policies, LV, but I don't want to have to go to all those companies. I want to go to my advisor if I want to speak to those, because it's so much easier, and they're the ones that put in the hard work. They put all the graft in to get that. They understand my fact find. They understand the information. That was the relationship very much that I was trying to extend through the use of the app and that brand awareness. So yes, there's lots we do in the app that helps advisors facilitate and streamline. But it really is that communication and that connection and the ease of use, Craig. I mean, one of the reasons that our chairperson joined us after I pitched an event in London from Aviva was how easy the app was to use and its ease of deployability for both the advisor and the client. So I think it can be downloaded and onboarded within about 7 or 8 minutes, which not 2-3 minutes really, and it's very easy to use. So that was a big part of, I suppose, our unique selling point behind BrokeriQ was the ease of use and that brand awareness and keeping the clients very much with the advisors, as opposed to letting them out to go to the other providers that are on the market. And that's just my passion for the advisor market and the reason I want to, suppose, hone in that area.
Okay. No, like I say, I think from what I'm hearing from you and what I've heard before, John, before we start recording the podcast, it's very much around enhancing the broker relationship with a client, which is key. That is absolutely the key thing moving forward, not only to retain the client, but then we'll talk about consumer duty as well, because obviously the changes within consumer duty from a broker point of view and a client point of view, and client retention and fees, and looking at making sure you're reviewing regularly we have that obviously from a financial advice space with regards to pension investment. We have to send out the annual report. And I just made a note there because I'm going to ask you about that in terms of whether there's any sort of thought whether regarding full financial advice and being part of BrokeriQ as well, which I'll ask you a question, which is really not, I've not asked you that before. So I am putting you on the spot with that one. But from a broker point of view right now, with regards to consumer duty, we do want to, it's about interaction with the client at least annually to make sure that everything is still relevant for that client, what it was 12 months ago, what it was 12 months ago, what it was 12 months ago. There's got to be that annual communication with a client, not only from a service point of view, but from a consumer duty point of view, which BrokeriQ will only help with that kind of communication. I know you talked a little bit about, which you can explain, about birthday messages and I'm guessing Christmas messages and things like that. But actually, fundamentally about products and services, it's going to help with that as well.
Oh, absolutely. We have many tools built into the platform over the last number of months. And they were always in my roadmap. I suppose when I was practicing myself, and maybe it was my data brain, I called my first company Review It, and it was a way of reviewing policies, and it was regular reviewing and sort of there was a 9-box philosophy, which all advisors do. I just wanted to digitize it. You looked at their incomings, their outgoings, their pension, their employment status, their sickness cover, and you sort of synopsed all that up in a portfolio. I would have called it a portfolio. But what we have done with BrokeriQ is really digitize that process. So while we don't take any part in the sale of the mortgage or the protection or the advice process, we have the ability to kind of flag up if there's a specific need for a client, or filter down clients. So you might be able to go in and filter down all your clients who haven't taken an IP, because we have that ability, and then you can send them a quick notification. And the advisors can choose to do that at a very low level, just by going in and applying the filter themselves, or clients who haven't taken a life and critical illness, or maybe their life and critical illness isn't up to the same value of their mortgage. So there might be a need that's been identified there. You can filter down through that, and then you can just send them a quick notification out. And again, we talk about that hyper-personalized communication. That can be an automated message out with a personalized message to the client that the advisor has just chosen they want to automate out. You can choose to do that every 3 months, every 6 months. It's as much as the advisor wants to do with the technology, or as little as they want to do. They might want to just do it manually and go in and run reports themselves and send out a message to their clients. Some of our advisors actually, because we have video messaging in the platform, will record a bank of videos. Maybe it's even an education piece on just the importance of IP, the importance of what is life cover, what is income protection, what is critical illness, the benefits that some of the providers have, whether it's the global treatment or the 24-hour GP. Information that is just so important for the end user, but maybe they've missed in that initial, because as you say, there's so much happening at that stage, and they're looking to get their mortgage and they're taking protection cover, and what really are they paying for? There's so much that can be done for that consumer duty, for that educating the client, for that outreach to the client. And again, we do that through technology. But we very much embed that into our customer success journey with the advisor. So we will look at that at different stages of our journey. When they move into that customer success with us, we'll book in a meeting. Okay, we're going to do your videos today. What videos would you like to record so that we can get put into the platform? And when do you want them to go out to your clients? So it's a very structured process that fits in as much as the advisor wants, or as little as the advisor wants. And that has been a very big positive for the technology over the last, I suppose, consumer duty has probably helped us greatly with that communication piece. Might have helped everybody else, but it's helped us.
No, but I think it has helped a lot of people. I think people that are looking for client retention, which is key to building a successful mortgage broker, and I think consumer duty helps with that. Absolutely, it might come across a bit of pain now, but for future long-term gain, it is definitely the right thing, and it will help mortgage brokers. So I've got it clear in my own mind from a process point of view. Because what you're talking about there sounds like amazing, and it does help, like segmenting your clients so you can see who's not taking IP, who's like might be a need there, a shortfall there. Well, how does that look? So from a consumer point of view, I just see the front end of an app, and I get communication from my broker through the app. I can see my policies on the app. I can see the obviously the communication trail, I'm guessing, with the messages backwards and forwards. Uploading on the app, is that something that they're from a consumer point of view as well?
Yeah, well, the clients can. Yeah, the clients can upload, and we automate that process as well. So the clients can go in through their app. They can upload take photographs. They can upload PDFs, and we convert to PDFs on the way through to eliminate that. They can put a description in of, if it's a June bank statement or whatever the request is, and we kind of have an automated process going in the background as well. So we're ticking that off as they're sort of coming through the app, so that the advisors don't have to keep chasing, because we've sort of taken over that. So again, just anything, Craig, that really speeds up that and streamlines that process of communication and processing.
No, that makes sense from a consumer point of view. So, but from a advisor point of view, am I managing? So when you're talking there about looking at clients, identifying shortfalls, people that would need IP but have not taken anything out, is that something that I do via an app myself? Is that a different look, or is that like online, or is that I'm just trying to clarify from my own peace of mind, thinking, how do I manage this from a broker point of view, not from a client point of view?
You just use the platform. So the client gets an app, but you would have your own platform. So you can just go in and apply the filter. And then you can, if you've put that data in at the very start of the process, then you can filter that down. And then you can for the client, what they would see is just a chat message out. It might just be, hi, we've identified that we maybe need to have a look at your protection policies. We don't take any part in what the advisor says. We just help them identify if there's something there. They can send whatever message out that they would like to that client. You can automate the process, and you can choose what you want to say in those automated messages out. So again, we don't have any say over what you actually say, but you can change those messages yourself and put them into the templates. I'm very careful that I don't take any part in the advice or anything that goes out, because I don't do that anymore. So the advisor, it might just be something like, hi, you're due a quick review or we've identified that you don't have income protection. Maybe we should have a chat about that now. And you could decide what you want to say and as and when you want to say that out. And again, we work with building that into the journey with the advisor. And some advisors want that automated. They don't. Well, we have one advisor here in Northern Ireland, a really, really, really great advisor, and we work with them very closely with building out the platform. And they just want that automated. They don't want to think about it. They're like, okay, let's send that out automatically to the client every 3 months. That's filling the consumer duty. We're keeping in contact with that. And then with some advisors who are like, look, I'll just filter it down myself and I'll send my own chat message out as and when, and that's fine. It's totally up to the advisor. It's not.
Right. Okay. And so from that does make sense. So from an advisor point of view, but I'm understanding that, but then something you sort of said there with regards to videos and education pieces and that. So I know some brokers who are very keen that will provide education in terms of what is income protection, what do they, and don't use jargon and try and explain it a little bit. So is that something that you can then, as a broker, you would have a bank of videos, and then does a customer just be able to have those, or is it a case of the advisor allocating that to that particular client, or is it just part of the app where these are what is income protection, what's life insurance, what is critical illness, what's this, what's that, is then that the client can access that at any particular time?
The client can access that. As soon as that goes out, the client can access that at any time. Whenever it goes out onto the app, they can view it at any stage they want.
Right. So from a broker's point of view, is it like my app, doesn't matter whether client A, client B, client C, the app is the same thing, the set format, it's got the same platform that's built in with it. So then every client can see basically the same thing, or can you personalize it per client, or is it just very much of that's what my app is and that's how it looks?
No, and it's everything that goes out to the client is personalized. So it's all for that specific client, and no client would see another client's app, that would be all relevant to the client that goes out. So I suppose from the advisor's point of view, I think maybe we provide the template of the app and we work with branding it to every advisor. You can edit that branding as much and as little as you want as well. We work with you. For the client, they would just get the same template as everybody, but it would be branded the advisor's brand. So within the app, you would have a mortgage page where you can actually see your mortgage. You would have a protection page where you can see all of your protection policies. There's a notification page, there's an upload page, and there's a chat page. And then there's a video section where and they come through the notifications and you can scroll up and down and see. So it's like a news feed nearly, almost.
Okay, no, that makes sense. I was thinking then whether do we need to put any screenshots into that. I know this is a podcast, but we do record the video as well. I'm thinking whether we need to put some screenshots in, but we'll probably not do that. We'll cover it then, and probably the best thing to do is, which we'll talk about, is just arrange a demo for yourself, and you can sort of see what bringing it to life yourself in a little bit more detail. Yeah. So
we do feel that when advisors see the demo and it goes through the processes of the journey, it seems to be like, oh God, yeah, we really need that. That would be brilliant at this stage of the journey. And sometimes when they actually see the technology working, it makes sense. Because technology, for advisors, it's a hard industry, and I mean it's a hard industry to put technology into, but also advisors can be sometimes reluctant, and I can understand that, and it's just so complex, and for me it's about using technology to simplify the communication side of things.
Absolutely. It is, and I think the thing with it, Joanne, is that it's the same with anything, is people either want to save time or they want to save money, and I think having the app, obviously it's going to cost. So as a broker, it's not going to save you money, but it will certainly save you time with a lot of things that you may put off from doing, may not choose to understand that you need to do that right now, but it will just having that, if you like I said, with the automated stuff, if you know as a broker, once it's going to take a bit of time to set up, but once you've set that up, all your clients go into that process and that flow and that roadmap, then it would just make life so much easier for you, knowing that That's going to get sent out then. That's going to go through then. But that's in one place. That's sort of simple thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we do find that has proven, and as I say, we talk about the cost. We've had a number of our advisors that use the platform, and I don't advertise as a lead generation platform. I didn't build it for lead generation, but we have had a number of our advisors who put warm leads in, who've converted through to sales. So it's actually been, and I suppose that's very important in this day and age, but we would advocate the advisors, and we actually provide a marketing video of the app that we get made on our behalf for the client to release on their social media and put their QR codes out, because of course they've got their own app links, they've got their own QR code, and it's a good way to capture leads coming in. So I still don't like to advertise as a lead capture tool, because that's not what we were built for. But coincidentally, when you put your app links and your QR code on good marketing, it's a great way to capture leads. And if those leads are reached out to, we do a certain amount of automation initially when a lead comes in anyway, or when somebody downloads the app, there's automated messages go out. In some cases, our advisors actually will record themselves talking, introduce themselves, and that video goes out to any client that downloads the app. So it's just a nice personal touch. And in quite a few cases, those leads have gone through to sales. So it's very much covered the cost of the app just from getting it out there as well. So that's been a good win.
The thing with it is that it's very he's very personal to that client, to that broker, and it's all about the broker getting the personality out there. So this will help getting their personality out into the marketplace, but whether it be on social media, but just having that simplicity for the client, just going, right, yeah, there's a QR code, there's the app, I can start to interact. And then I sort of see a video about an introduction video from that broker and telling them about their values and what they're about and how things work. Some brokers will be scared of that, absolutely. But then a lot of brokers who embrace technology, who do post videos on social media, or just don't necessarily post on social media, but do embrace technology, will benefit from that, because they're thinking, they say it's not, I'm like clarifying that it's not a lead gen thing, that this is not the foundation and this is not how this started. However, it will benefit as a broker to then have that, like say, if I've got an app and then I go on to, and I've sort of see the social media, and I've seen the reviews and I've seen a few videos, and then I then get the app and then thinking, I need to get mortgage sorted out, get the QR code, and then I get an introduction video from that broker about them and how they work and about their service and everything else. It's just about giving your authority as a mortgage broker there throughout this whole process, which is more likely for then the client to interact with you.
And you're moving them off. Sometimes you can put a lot of money into social media and into marketing, and then they come through and you get a lead through, and then you still have to do an awful lot of the data capture and find out, whereas if they download the app, they're fairly warm. We're finding if they go to download the app, they're fairly warm. You've already captured their data because they've downloaded the app and they've put their information into the app, which means you now have their name, address, telephone number, that generic information that you would need. So you're nearly shortening that process down. And then we have the ability, because we were seeing great success with it, to tag those new clients as new prospects. So they might not go to a sale now. Maybe they're only thinking about a mortgage. Maybe you've had an initial inquiry from them and they're just not ready. You've told them what they need, but you might want to re-engage with that client in 6 months' time. You can tag that client as a new prospect, and you can automate a message to them in 6 months' time to reach out to say, hi, just checking in again. So again, sometimes we put a lot of money, and myself included, into social media and into marketing, and it's getting it from there into your own platform to then use that. Again, you're streamlining those processes, Craig. You're taking them from the social media and you're putting them into your own platform, and now they're your prospect that you can sort of send information to, send a video, and inform them of what's happening. Maybe it's market changes. You can do all of that in your own branded app, and you're moving them from mainstream social media onto your own platform. So that's been a really big win for some of our advisors as well.
Definitely. I think it's sort of, because I was going to ask you about the future of BrokeriQ, but from what you're saying and from when we first started speaking about the app, I think I can, from what you're saying right now, things have developed quite a lot in such a short space of time. So you're obviously constantly developing? Is that from feedback from brokers? Is that you knowing the marketplace? Is that, yeah?
It's the brokers, Craig. I mean, I started off this journey. I will mention their name because I have publicity about them all the time. But we started here with a small enough firm in Northern Ireland in the very early days. First Stop Mortgages here in Northern Ireland. Two young guys, Jim and Simon Smith, and they have grown tremendously over the past, I suppose, 2 years. But they were my first beta client. They were named one of the bigger networks, top achievement advisor in Northern Ireland just in the last 2 weeks. So, I mean, I suppose I have like a group of very trusted advisors who took a chance on me in the very early days. And the Smith guys are one of them, and have grown. They've grown with me, but I have listened to every recommendation to this day. I listen. Can we do this? Can you put that in? We've got the referral links in now, and that came from the advisors. I've been able to track those referrals. Just anything that would help the advisor. I mean, I make no bones, but I wasn't in the space a very long time. I was very distracted by the technology. I was very distracted by client engagement, and that's where my passion was. And I have to stick very much in that lane. This is what I do. But the people that I provide our service to are the guys who support me and give me all of the features that are now in the technology. And that's how we have built this platform all along. And that's on a daily basis, Craig. I would have the phone ringing here, Joanne, can we do this? Can we put this in? And as we've grown, we've had to sort of streamline that process a wee bit, but certainly in those early days, that was like a steering committee where we all came together, and even message templates that go out from the platform came from our advisors. They were like, this is what we want to see, and we put it in, and it's worked really, really, really well. So we wouldn't be here without the fantastic advisors that we've had to date and continue to bring on board.
I know, but the great thing is, when you're embracing the feedback and taking that feedback on board and enhancing your product, which a lot of people don't do. You're not sat here going, this BrokeriQ is, I'm not saying it's not perfect, but it's going to be constantly, we talked about that before with regards to technology. Technology will always be moving forward. You'll always have things to develop and do within technology, but you are welcoming the feedback from the brokers, where I know certain technology people that they think they're right. It's like, well, this works and this is how it works perfectly, and we don't want to change this to change it, but not based on feedback from the broker population or the user population, shall we say. That's sort of they just think that product, and it's a great product that they've got, but they're not working on the feedback and from that particular product. Where, from what you're saying, you do welcome feedback from the broker, and you're never going to help. You're never going to be. Everybody's suggestion is never going to be implemented because you can never get it, but you're never going to be able to do that. But is that how you feel, as though you will be constantly evolving, or is there other plans in the horizon? Because I've just made a few notes there when we were talking about, is it just geared for mortgage brokers? Is financial advisors ever going to be able to come into this space, or?
Well, absolutely. I mean, we've grown to date. I have a roadmap, and I have my own ideas of where I want things to go. But I think you have to be very clear on the market that you're currently in and what we can do. And I mean, one of the first things when I went out to sort of pitch my concept, and it wasn't within the mortgage and protection space, it was an external advisor. They actually were more involved in the GI end of the business. But they were like, oh, brokers, they're a dying breed. And I thought, well, I prove you wrong. And that was 2 years ago. And they most definitely are not dying. I think they're needed more than ever, and the changes in the industry. And I think that's been proven. I mean, I was always obsessed with mortgage tech and insure tech, and real enthusiasm for what other companies have been doing for this. But it always sat really, as I said, within the insurance side or the protection side, and the new technology that went on there, whereas my passion was for those advisors and for the brokers. So it would be really remiss of me if I didn't listen to the population that I was selling to, and what they needed. Do I think that as we progress, we will add more innovative technology in? Maybe it might be some artificial intelligence, maybe there might be more automation over the next number of years, as the advisors get familiar with our concept and embrace client engagement and streamlining of processes. there will be a time for that. It's not going to be anytime soon, because I just think we need to learn to evolve as a digital community before we start to get too involved in too much heavy tech at this stage. For wealth advisors, absolutely. I have more wealth advisors contacting me than I have mortgage or protection advisors. It's just not a space I'm overly familiar with. I have got a few of my advisors who are also wealth advisors, and they, I suppose, are shaping what we can do in the future for that as well. And again, just like I've done with the mortgage and protection, I listen to them. And I definitely see that we will be starting, even to date, on a very low level. You know, you can tick if a policy's been put in trust, you can upload a will to the platform on a very basic level. I suppose concepts that I was familiar with from my time in the industry. More of the annual reviews and the other side of the wealth advice is definitely in the roadmap, but it will be shaped by those advisors who ask for elements to be added in. And I suppose we've already started looking at that with a number of the advisors that we have already.
Brilliant. No, I can see how it benefits mortgage brokers. I can see how it benefits financial advisors, because I deal with both day in, day out, and I've got a business that has both advisors in it, and I can sort of see from that point of view what a massive benefit that would be. It's a massive benefit for brokers. Is going to be just as big benefit for the financial advisors and for the clients as well within that space, because they've got one app which has got, talks about their mortgage, their protection, talks about their will, their estate planning, talks about the trusts, talks about their pension, talks about the investments they've got and things like that. It's going to be, they've got one app that does that. Well, wow, like that is such a powerful tool and such a powerful thing, and such a powerful thing for a financial advisor as well, because that's going to be help them with their client communication, as like I said, consumer duty. But wealth advisors, financial advisors, are already in tune with regular updates with their clients anyway. They are clients for life. And I think what I'm keen to see within the industry is financial advisors have clients for life. Brokers don't. This is a bit of a sweeping statement, but mortgage brokers don't have clients for life, because there isn't anything with the wealth side of things, but there is, people will forget that people just have that natural instinct that the financial advisors are there for them, because they're talking about pensions, they're talking about long-term things when they haven't got a mortgage anymore. That timeline will shift slightly with regards to people retiring later and having mortgages longer and things like that. But from a client point of view, if I've got one app that then dealing with all aspects of it, I'm more likely to have that broker for life that will also be the financial advisor as well. And it might even help. Yeah, it's just going to help the industry, not only from a advisor point of view, but from a client point of view as well. It's a massive thing. And you are absolutely spot on. What you said is that there is never more time right now that people need mortgage brokers, people need financial advisors. They do in the times right now, and they will continue to do so. So,
well, I think you can't replace the person behind it. And I think that is an important point to make about our technology, is that it's not to replace the person, it just facilitates the process and makes it easier for both client and advisor, but it is not there. Because I think that is a fear of advisors, is that some of the technology platforms are trying to sort of replace their advice, and that is not our ethos behind BrokeriQ.
No, definitely not. Joanne, 45 minutes in, we knew we'd be able to talk for a little with no agenda. We knew we'd be able to sort of go on a little bit, and but I think, yeah, if I'm sort of sat here now listening to this, watching this as a mortgage broker, and I'm thinking I want to know more about it, what's the first thing that I should be doing?
Well, you can check out our website on www.brokeriq.co.uk. We are redoing our website, and you can also reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. I mean, I am hands-on with all of the clients, new clients and existing clients, so would be very happy to have a chat with anybody who would want to hear more. Or you can actually go and download the BrokeriQ app yourselves and see for yourself a snippet of what it's about. If you go to the App Store and you search for BrokeriQ, you'll be able to download our test version. You should go through to the demo account and you'll be able to see exactly what the app looks like. And then we'll reach out once we see a download. We can reach out to you afterwards. Or just drop me an email at joanne@brokeriq.co.uk.
And don't worry, we'll make sure that all your contact detail, the website we just talked about, we're all in the show notes as well, so people can just click on the links and then find out for themselves what we've been talking about for the last 45 minutes and so, and clearly what you are passionate about. So, Joanne, thank you for finally coming to the podcast. Thank you so much for your time and giving us an honest experience and really sort of giving us a good indication of how you are helping brokers. You're not, like say, you're not replacing brokers. It's very much about enhancing the broker position, which is key for businesses moving forward. So thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome. Thanks, Craig.
So thanks for listening to this week's podcast, and a great guest. I'm sure you agree with Joanne Cole. Great product. It helped BrokeriQ, helps from a client point of view, helps from a broker point of view. There are benefits from both sides, both aspects of the business. And I think for anybody that's looking at client retention and looking at automation of process and having less friction with running a mortgage broker business, certainly recommend you booking a demo. All the links are in the podcast notes, so have a look at that. Booking a demo with Joanne. She's always happy to talk about a product, talk about what it does and how it helps mortgage brokers, and which I believe it does. And so, yeah, thank you for listening. Thanks for subscribing. If you have got any comments or feedback from this week's podcast, add them into the notes, whether you listen or watch the podcast. Any questions you've got, we can get some more questions for Joanne. Get them into the notes. We can put them to Joanne, no problem. And like I say, if you any feedback on this week's podcast and feedback in general in terms of, please review this podcast. If you do enjoy it, I just want to get it out to as many mortgage brokers, many business owners as we can, because the feedback that I get from people is that it does help them become self-employed mortgage brokers, or it does help them as a mortgage broker business owner. So if you can review it and rate it on whatever platform you listen to the podcast to, please do that, because it will just help to reach more brokers, more business owners. And as always, make sure you run your own race.